Hey, old Pandawans and journeymen walking that illustrated path. It is on this 5th day of October that we present to you another brutal doodle, orky, gruesome, toothsome image for this 2023. Is that the right year? Yeah, Orctober. So for this picture, I am utilizing that really rough, messy pen brush, ink brush, whatever it was I was talking to you about in that other, the previous video when I was doing all the orc faces and the collage. It's like a really janky type brush. It's like chaotic and erratic. I guess it's supposed to simulate a ink brush that's all frayed and battered and bruised and bent and busted. And so I'm doing that to see if I can get sort of a inky brush type feel. Now, of course, I could also just get a real broken, battered, busted, and bruised ink brush and do that as well. But I'm working digital on this one. I have another orc image I did, a pencil one. I think it was ballpoint pen that I will be scanning and or at least taking a photo of it and posting it. But I want to have a mixture of traditional and digital for this Orctober. What about you out there? Have you been dilly-dallying? Have you been watching your TV shows? Or have you been drawing orcs for Orctober? I know a lot of you have. I want to thank you for sending in all those beautiful, gruesome, toothsome images of orcs, orc warriors, orc shamans, young orcs, old orcs, like this guy here, old orc with axe. That's the name of the file. But yeah, it's been great seeing the stuff you're working on. I hope you're enjoying it. I know that for a while, Inktober was the biggest thing around. And now, of course, it's Orctober. There are literally dozens of you out there doing this. But it sure is fun, isn't it? I mean, Inktober, a lot of times I've seen like, what's the Inktober thing for the day? It's like, oh, draw a bird and a pumpkin. It's like, okay, that's Halloween themed. Or you could draw a pumpkin fumpkin, which is based in the Orctober lore. And we'll be doing some of those orky pumpkins, and those will be coming up soon as well, because as you know, it's the 5th day of Orctober. And we have, how many did we figure that in the last video? There's 31 days in Orctober. So yeah, we have plenty. Do the math. Lots of opportunities to draw more stuff. But I'm very happy to see all the art you're doing. Please keep sending that in. It's nice to see other people playing along and doing orky goodness and stuff like that. So as you can see, if we're jumping back to the brushes, I get, it's a good, cool image, I guess. The brush feels a little messy for me. I'm not used to working with like such splattery type stuff. But they always say, oh, it's good to get out of your comfort zone, and you should always be learning and growing and this and that. And I don't agree. Sure, that's cool. I mean, if you're a doctor, maybe. But as a doctor of orctology, I specialize in my field of study is in the green and the mean and the gruesome and the toothsome. No, I mean, it's fun to learn stuff. Like when I'm, at the day job, of course, we make video games. We use digital. We use 3D. I had to learn 3D. I mean, I made tons of 3D models for the games over the years. But I had to learn that, and it was cool because I learned. But I've never used 3D in my outside of work stuff. It's not because I wasn't good at it or I didn't like it. It was fun, and it was, once you were able to combat the user interface of these older 3D programs, they used to be really difficult to learn. But not that difficult because I learned it. But I never found myself doing it after work hours. And I know a lot of people do. Like, they create these awesome models, and it is a huge, awesome tool where you could, do a rough model of, say, this orc and get the perspective right and, get a cool worm's eye view of it. Now, I blurred that screen there, so you guys just didn't have your eyes aren't deteriorating while you're watching this. No, I blurred the whole layer to kind of fade some of those scratchy, inky marks that I'm attempting to like. But yeah, I've with the brushes, I've really found out, going back from, we were talking about the 3D, and I never really used that in my work outside of work. Same with a lot of these brushes. Like there's some awesome brushes out there. I have one that I use when I'm doing a lot of like the hammerfall stuff, or maybe, undead or spooky stuff. It's a chain brush, which I made myself. I drew a chain link, and you save that as the brush, and then in the different program or menu, you can do the spacing on it to where it repeats more often than not, or less or more, and you can make it so when you draw this thing, it looks like it's just drawing a chain, and you could swirl it around and the chain's all connected. Now, nothing to stop me from drawing the chain, but chains are friggin' boring to do, and especially if you're doing lots of them and stuff like that. So as a time-saving technique, it's great. Is it cheating? Sure, but so is an electric guitar compared to an acoustic guitar. That's cheating. Yeah, but you make some good-ass music with electric twanger. Yeah, so I tend not to have a dearth of brushes. I use one or two, three, for per image. I have one or two I use for, you'll see if I'm doing fog effects or fire effects, things like that. I have one or two that I'll use for like, scratching up stuff a little bit, or doing like a rough texture on something, the ground. But if you look back at some of the old videos, like when I'm working on trees, like I'll just draw in the bark. It's not realistic bark, but everyone, if you look at it, it's like, oh, that's tree bark. And I think maybe that's just part of the style that makes it cool. It looks drawn. Like when you look at an old Disney background, not trying to toot my own horn by comparing my work to old Disney backgrounds, even though I did an awesome version of Sam Weiss and the 6.5 Dwarfs. That's another video you check out. But they had this cool look where it didn't look realistic, but you knew exactly what it was, and it enabled them to do lots and lots of artwork, and not labor over everything. So I think that's part of the charm of some of the images. Like this one, it's very messy, but I'll put a little bit more detail, like maybe in the upper torso of the orc and his face, just so it's a little bit more detailed, and then the rest of it can be a little bit, blurry or rushed or messy. Because what we're doing right now is we're just drawing orcs. We're not trying to make things that are, last forever and archival. We want to have an orc a day if we can, right? And I know we got our day jobs and our night jobs, and a lot of you out there who are costume crime fighters, after work. I get it. Being a costume crime supervillain is difficult work as well. It definitely impacts the family life and all that. So, you got to balance your villainy with your family life and your drawing. But no, it's a lot of people when they're doing artwork, they're afraid to share sketches because they're too rough, or they're not, they're not polished enough, or they're not the content. Like this is just a boring ass orc standing there with an axe. Yeah, that's not going to like shock the world with its, revolutionary, oh, what a great concept that is. An orc never stood there looking menacingly in a fire with an axe. That's pretty much everyone's go-to. And it was mine too, because I just wanted to draw a fun orc. But I want to thank you guys actually again for sending in those images. And if you have not, Pandawans, Journeyman, if you have not drawn anything for Orctober yet, you must. The people demand it. We must see the green machine, or this one, black and white, sweeping over the internet, claiming it. Just like orcs do in normal life, right? Well, in fantasy normal life. There's not really orcs, is there? I mean, I'm a real life dwarf, but yeah. So anyways, I guess if there's anything to take away from this rambling ass video is artwork doesn't have to be something that's going to last forever. Have fun, draw an orc. Out there talking about brushes, don't worry about brushes. Brushes are like, condiments in the fridge. Everyone's got dozens of hot sauces, but you end up going back to Tabasco or Sriracha or whatever it is. My family's from Louisiana. I like me some Tabasco. But yeah, that will be it for today, Pandawans. And we will see you soon with another Orctober drawing. And please send in yours. I look forward to seeing your artwork. And what's that we always say? Oh, yeah. Remember your ABCs. Always be creating orcs. Cheers and beers. We'll see you next time. Hail!